All right, we have a self-resistant stretch that's going to be primarily for the hamstring, but we have a technique of adding in the spinal erectors that is going to be on the same side of that hamstring. So we've got our leg propped up. You could do this on a table. A lower bench would be a real optimal thing. Notice, please, that the heel is off the edge of the table. What that does is it creates a little bit of slack for the calf, because the calf and the hamstring will overlap each other when the leg is straight and can make it much harder to get a hamstring stretch. And we do not ever need to crank back on the toes and pull up into dorsiflexion. So we're in place. So what we have going on is Steve is pulling himself back into his hand, and he's got a hand crossing his neck. He is not holding only onto his skull. And he is going to start off with focusing on pivoting through the hips. He's firing through his hamstrings to push himself up and backwards, but he is pulling down through the hip flexor, and then his abs are kicking. At a certain point, the hamstring won't allow him to pivot the hips anymore, and his lats are taking over and pulling him down and getting a self-resistant stretch through his spinal erectors. He sits back up, pushes it off the leg, gets everything in place for the next rep, and he is trying to sit up straight as far as he can until the hamstring makes him start to bend. Now, typically, we would always tell people in the old days, a static stretch, we don't want to bend your back because that's going to take away the focus on the hamstring and you'll just be stretching your back. In this case, you must keep the hamstring firing as it works into your back. We do not ever let off of the hamstring work when we are coming down like this. So once you can get past the halfway mark, you can choose to put the heel up there. That'll add a noticeable degree of difficulty. Still do not need to pull back on those toes at all. And as your leg gets straighter, it will, by putting the foot up there, it adds a degree of tension, therefore difficulty.